Believing something can be done paves the way for creative solutions. Believing something can't be done is pure destructive thinking. This applies to all situations, little and big. Political leaders who don't genuinely believe that permanent world peace can be attained will fail in their pursuit of peace, because their minds will be closed to creative ways to bring about peace. Likewise, the salesman who doesn't believe that that prospect can be sold won't sell that prospect. But, and this is the important part, you can find solutions to business and personal problems if you believe you can. You can find a way to buy a new, larger home if you believe you can. Belief releases your creative power. Disbelief puts the brakes on. Belief is basic to creative thinking. Now, here are 2 suggestions that are guaranteed to help you develop your ability to think creatively.
First, eliminate the word impossible from your thinking and speaking vocabularies. Impossible is a failure word. The thought, it's impossible, sets off a chain reaction of other thoughts to prove it's impossible. Second, conduct this experiment. Think of something special you've been wanting to do but felt you couldn't. Buying a new television, or taking a trip to Europe, or taking a dancing class, or whatever. Now, make a list of the reasons why you can do it. Many of us defeat our desires simply because we concentrate on why we can't achieve them. But for successful people, the only thing worthy of mental attention is why they can. So find the reasons you can do the special things that you want to do, and then put those reasons to work to accomplish them.
Dr. Wernher von Braun, the scientist who was so instrumental in our manned space flight program, once said something very significant. He said, "Man belongs where man wants to go." Now that's the kind of attitude that gets things accomplished, that gives rise to positive, creative thoughts. That's the exact opposite of the kind of thinking that holds so many people back. I call that kind of thinking traditional thinking. You see, traditional thinking is the enemy of creative thinking. The traditional thinker's mind is paralyzed. The traditional thinker says, it's been this way for 100 years, so it must be good, and it's got to stay this way. Why should we change? Well, I'll tell you why change is worth risking. Change is what brings about progress. Personal progress, work progress, world progress. If you want success, the only way you're going to get success is through change. Taking some risk, thinking of new, different, creative approaches to your work, your life. Average people always have resented progress. And in passing, let me define average for you. Average should be defined as the worst of the best and the best of the worst. Average people raised their voices in objection when the first automobiles appeared, on the grounds, they said, that it was natural for us to walk and ride horses. Average people protested when the airplane appeared because people somehow had no right or business flying. Around the turn of the century, a sales executive came up with what he called the scientific principle of sales management. Oh, it received a lot of attention in those days, even found its way into some textbooks. That principle stated that there is only one best way to sell a product, and the salesperson's job is to find that way and never deviate from it. Well, the truth is that there is no one best way to do anything. There's no one best way to mow a lawn, decorate an apartment, or run a business, or sell a product. There are as many best ways as there are creative minds. Nothing grows in ice. If we let traditional thinking freeze our minds, new ideas can't grow. So, here are some specific ways to fight traditional thinking.
Become receptive to new ideas. Welcome new ideas. Destroy those thought repellents. Won't work, can't be done, it's useless, or it's stupid. Become an experimental person. Break up your fixed routines. Expose yourself to new restaurants, new books, new theaters, or new friends. Take a different route to work some days, and take a different vacation this year. Do something new and different this weekend. If you work in distribution, develop an interest in production, accounting, finance, and the other elements of business. This gives you greater breadth and prepares you for larger responsibilities. Be progressive, not regressive. Don't say, that's the way we did it where I used to work, so we ought to do it that way here. But say instead, how can we do this better than we did where I used to work? Use forward progressive thinking in every facet of your life. Get up an hour earlier and do some daily planning, or think of some other way to vary your daily routine. Remember, traditional thinking is personal enemy number one of your Creative Success program.
Every day, we are reminded of one of the most basic facts of business life in this country. Successful businesses are always looking for new, innovative, and better ways of doing things. Automobile companies are constantly striving to keep up with the public's changing needs and desires. Advertising agencies constantly seek new ways to sell products. The food industry is always looking for better production and distribution methods. The search for improvement is vital, never-ending, and absolutely essential to the survival of competitive businesses. And by the same token, it's vital to the success of anyone who wants to improve his or her lot in life. Absolute perfection in any human endeavor is, of course, unattainable. This means that there's endless room for improvement. Successful people, like successful business, are always searching for a better way. You can do this too, as an important part of your personal program for success. Each day, before you begin work, devote 10 minutes to thinking, how can I do a better job today? And ask, what can I do today to encourage my employees? What special favors can I do for my customers? How can I increase my personal efficiency? This exercise is simple, but it's also very effective. Try it, and you'll find unlimited creative ways to win greater success.
I know where I come from. You know, somebody asked me, they said, Steve, why you work so hard? Because I'm running from my past. See, I'm running from my past. The person you see today is not who I've always been. God changed me, man. God turned me into this man. He been making me. God has been shaping me for a lot of years. It's like when you make mistakes. You make mistakes so you can learn. You don't learn from winning. You learn when you lose it. See, Michael Jordan, when I was telling you about them shots he made, the only reason he was making the game-winning shot, because they was losing. They was losing. You got to lose to understand the winning side of life. So I've always understood that much of my life. I done slid off track here with your question because I wanted to say something else. Whoa.
How to stay humble and grounded in a world where you're succeeding?
See, a lot of times when I'm talking, I go off into a story and then I forget where I was at.
I'll keep you on track.
I just had that moment just now. I knew y'all didn't know what I was doing because you stopped clapping. So I said, okay, cool, must be making law. Don't try to help me now. But listen, it's important to just remember where you come from. Just remember. That's the one thing that'll keep you humble. You have to remember where you're from and you have to be grateful because it can go the other way. See, you can want to be successful, but without God's grace and mercy, you won't become successful. So why would you get there and all of a sudden swell up? I'm the greatest now. No, you're not. No, you're not. You have to remember where you're from and you have to stay grateful. There's not a day that I don't thank God for this life he's given me. There is not a single day. Because when I was homeless, I made God a promise. I told God, I said, God, if you let me make it, if you just let me make it, when I get there, I'm going to tell everybody it was you. So that's my mission. See, let me show you this. Your career is what you're paid for. Your calling is what you're made for. God made me famous and I made money. That was for my career. But his calling to me was to show other people how to get a house on the hill. So that became why I was famous. To show other people how to be this way. To cross across oceans to tell my story. To cross religious beliefs. When I sat with Your Highness yesterday, he told me that Islam, this is what he told me. I'm repeating directly what His Highness told me. He said that Islam believes in all faiths, that it is a religion of peace, that Islam believes in Muhammad the Prophet, in Jesus Christ, in all of it. That is what being a Muslim is. This is what he told me. He made me yesterday comfortable with who I was.
create images in the minds of others with words. Now, I want to show you another kind of image creating that's a vital part of thinking big. Learn this skill well. Make it one of your primary success tools. The skill is simply this: learn to see what can be, not just what is. Big thinkers, all big thinkers, train themselves to see the potential in people and things and ideas, not just what exists right now. I have a friend who is a highly successful realtor. He specializes in rural property, and I'd like to take you on a brief outing with him to hear what he has to say about seeing the potential in things.
Oh, this is about 450 acres, kind of hilly as you can see. Scruffy undergrowth, little skimpy secondary growth trees. Not exactly farm beautiful, is it? You know, most of the rural property around here is pretty run down like this. But I think I'm successful because I developed my entire sales plan around what this place can be. Now let me show you what I've done with this farm. I've spent 2 days just studying it and trying to imagine what it could be. Here we have 85 acres of bottomland, we got 115 acres of woods, about 200 acres of pasture, and we're 45 minutes from town, about stone's throw from the freeway, and 35 miles from the airport. Well, I've asked myself, what's this farm good for? Well, here's one possibility. Here, this is a plan for a horse riding stable. I've got it all typed up here, you see. As you can see, we've got all the right ingredients. Rapidly growing city nearby. You can hear the construction from here. Lots of new families moving in. I mean, it's built and designed for families around here. Here's a report that states that the outdoor activities are the fastest growing recreational form that there is right now. You've got good pasture and some nice hills, and they're not too steep, right? You can support lots of horses right here. Grow your own barley, your own wheat and grain. That way, all of the revenue produced in this property stays right here for the profit of the buyer. With a minimal amount of landscaping, you can put in some trails, run them over the hills, down to the river. I mean, can't you see people riding their horses over the top of that hill, back up through the gorge? You see, this way, when I talk to prospects, I don't have to convince them that this place is a good buy just as it is. I can help them actually see it turned into a money-making venture. That has added bonuses too. I can sell more farms and sell them faster this way, and on top of that I can sell them usually for more money than my competitors, because they're not just buying a farm, they're buying a farm and an idea.
Once again, the moral to this true story is this: look at things not as they are, but as they can be. Visualization, you see, adds value to everything. A big thinker always visualizes what can be done in the future and doesn't limit himself to the present. And always remember, this principle doesn't just apply to things. It applies to people as well. If you can see the potential in a customer who comes into your store and spends, say, $5, then you create the possibility that the customer will come back again, and next time spend $500. If you drive through Skid Row and see just a bunch of broken down stumblebums and winos, then you're not thinking big. There are a few devoted individuals who can see in those Skid Row residents a lot of human potential. And because they can see this potential, those few people are able to help a lot of those unfortunate people get back on their feet. The best teachers are the ones who see Jimmy not as a little troublemaker who talks too much, but as an energetic, bright kid who needs a special challenge to get motivated. This teacher isn't seeing Jimmy as he is, but as Jimmy can be. Now, turn this idea inward and look at yourself. What about your own potential, your own worth? If you were to go in for salary negotiations with your boss tomorrow, how would you present yourself? Would you see yourself exactly as you are today? Or would you see the potential you have to offer, the executive you can be in 2 years, or the sales you can bring in over the next 5 years? Are you looking at yourself only in the present, or do you see yourself as a person you can be at some point in the future? The way to develop the power to see what can be, not just what is to practice adding value to things, people, and ideas. Now here are some exercises that will help you do this.
First, practice adding value to things. Remember the real estate salesman and ask yourself, what can I do to add value to this room, or this house, or this business? Look for ideas to make things worth more. Anything, whether it's a vacant lot or a new house or a business, has value in proportion to the ideas for using it. And practice adding value to people. As you move higher and higher in the world of success, more and more of your job will become people development. So ask, what can I do to add value to my subordinates? How can I help them be more effective? Remember, to bring out the best in a person, you must first visualize their best. And finally, practice adding value to yourself. Conduct a daily interview with yourself and ask, what can I do to make myself more valuable today? Visualize yourself not as you are, but as you can be. Then, specific ways for attaining your potential value will begin to suggest themselves.
There is no such thing as a perfectly smooth, trouble-free road to success. You can be sure there are plenty of bumps on everyone's path to fulfillment. Nothing worthwhile comes easily, but there is something that you can do that will help to at least smooth out some of these minor bumps, and I can sum it up for you in one short sentence. Don't concern yourself with trivia. Now that sounds simple, but the fact is that it's often much easier to get caught up in trivia than to avoid it, simply because of our habits. For example, ask yourself this question: why do people quarrel? At least 90% of our quarrels are over trivial concerns. Somebody's late, or somebody forgot to buy something at the store, or somebody bought the wrong brand. Now, to become a big thinker, you need to eliminate as many of these bumps and potholes from your personal road to success as you can. So the next time a trivial matter comes up, ask yourself, is this really important? Does it really matter which route I take to the airport? Does it really matter if someone forgets to put the cap on the toothpaste? Is it really important that your spouse invited someone to the party you don't like or squandered a little bit too much money? When you fix your mental gaze on the big picture and remember the goal that you're working toward, success, fulfillment, and happiness, you'll find that many of these potential quarrels simply aren't important enough to warrant an argument. Just asking that question, is it really important, works wonders at the office too. It works in the traffic going home when the driver tries to cut you off. It works when you might get the smallest office in the renovation plan. It works when you overlook the small, annoying habits of your fellow workers. And it works when you're solving problems, or counseling employees, or making decisions about your career. Just don't get caught up in trivia.
So they took the crown off this woman's head and put it on the other woman. This is horrible for this young girl. So I'm in the back. I go to the press conference. It's horrible. It's horrible. It's over with. I go to sleep around 2 o'clock in the morning. I can't sleep. It's 5 o'clock in the morning. I'm getting up to leave Las Vegas to go home. I go outside. Reporters are everywhere. I get on the plane. Reporters are everywhere. I land in Atlanta. Reporters are everywhere. How could you? You're the stupidest person. This is the biggest mistake ever. I could do nothing. I could not leave my house for days. People were driving by my house tying notes on rocks and throwing it over the gate with names on it. It was horrible. Within 48 hours, my name, Steve Harvey, had been Googled 4 billion times. 4 billion times in 48 hours. I was the most famous person on planet Earth in 48 hours. God had increased my global brand and persona. I did not appreciate the way he did it, but I was the most famous person in the world for 48 hours. That was a big fall. That was a fault. They wrote about me in the papers. His career is over. He's ruined. He will never recover from this. He is not going to be on TV anymore. How could you? They wrote that all about me. But they did not know that the God I serve is in control of my life. Not them. Not the media. None of them. It is God. And so he had a different plan for me, because I had gotten up so many times before, because I had fallen. I was homeless for years and lived in a car. He got me up. I lost my mother. He picked me up. I lost my father 3 years later. He picked me up. My big brother died. He picked me up. He kept picking me up. I am so used to getting up to getting back up. Every time I get knocked down, I keep getting back up over and over and over again. So let me show you something about you. Let me teach you something now. All of you in here have had some bad days. All of you in here have had some days where you felt like you wasn't gonna make it. All of you in here have had some crushing things happen to you and you did not see no way you was gonna make it. All of you in here have felt so badly sometimes you did not know what to do. But let me tell you something about you. Your track record for surviving bad days is 100%.
What I'd like for you to do right now, I want you to think about your dream. Think about your dream right now. I want you to think about it. Now, ladies and gentlemen, let me share something with you. I do not believe that any of us have dreams that were not given to us for the purpose of accomplishing those particular dreams. I started out, as was indicated, very humble beginnings. I don't know what that dream is that you have. I don't care how far-fetched it might appear to be. I don't care how disappointing it might have been as you've been working toward that dream. That dream that you're holding in your mind, that it's possible. See, sometimes we can't say, I can do that. But what we can say, that I can have my dream. As we work on it day in and day out, no one, ladies and gentlemen, could have convinced me when I started out working on my dream, and I want you to think about whatever your dream is. I was willing to take a chance, and most people won't do that. Most of the people that you talk to, these are not risk takers. Most people have done all that they're ever going to do. They raise a family, they earn a living, and then they die. But people who are running toward their dreams, life has a special kind of meaning. That in the process of working on your dreams, you are going to incur a lot of disappointment, a lot of failure, a lot of pain, a lot of defeats. But in the process of doing that, you will discover some things about yourself that you don't know right now. That you have greatness within you, that you're more powerful than you can ever begin to imagine, that you're greater than your circumstances, that you don't have to go through life being a victim. I was born in Miami, Florida, in an area in an abandoned building on a hard linoleum floor with my twin brother. We were adopted. When I was in 5th grade, I was identified as EMR, labeled educable, mentally retarded, and stayed in that category until I got out of high school. But I met a high school teacher who one day changed my life. I was waiting on another student. When he came in, he said to me, "Young man, go to the board and write what I'm about to tell you." And I said, I can't do that, sir. He said, "Why not?" "I'm not one of your students." He said, "It doesn't matter. Follow my directions." I said, "I can't do that, sir, because I'm educable, mentally retarded." And he came from behind his desk and he looked at me. Someone's opinion of you does not have to become your reality.
I just make mine so simple that it really doesn't have those complications. If on your goal list is a ranch in Montana, and you say, well, if I worked hard and maybe it's my second year of following an entrepreneurial project and I'm doing fairly well, I think maybe I could accomplish that in 5 years. Sure enough, if good things happen, it's down to 3. If it takes me a little longer, maybe that's off in 10. But I just leave it on my list, not to make it an obsession. And then maybe the more I think about it, say, no, not a farm in Montana. An apartment in New York on Park Avenue. I think I'll change to that. I think that makes it easier. Let that inspire you. If goals inspire you to higher achievement of things and occasions and places you want to go and things you want to see and people you want to meet, if only a little of it comes true, but all of it served as inspiration along the way to do better and work harder and say maybe some of these goals will be closer than I thought now, it looks exciting. All of that serves you well. Who cares how close you got? Who cares if you set 200 goals and only got 10? It doesn't really matter. And I think if you make it that easy on yourself, tear up the list if you want to, start over. I've gotten some better information now. I'm not going to go for that. How about something else? I think that's the key. I make it easy. Make a list of what you want and start checking off the things that are easy to get on your list. A lot of little things that you start checking off, and then let the rest of it all unfold. But you might as well dream about, having an upstairs maid and a downstairs maid. If you happen to visit a rich man's home and say, wow, that's the life for me, I'm going to put that on my list. The guy's got a limousine and a driver. You say, wow, someday that's for me. And then later you say, no, this limousine and driver deal, that's not for me. But let it inspire you in the meantime. Why not? Even if you change your mind, threw that out, put in something else. One of my friends brought me on his Learjet the other day from San Jose to Van Nuys, close to my home. I thought, wow, it'd be nice to have a jet like this. But I think it only seats 4 people or 5. It was really small. Then he's got an 8-passenger helicopter, pilot and a co-pilot and 6 passengers. It's the latest state-of-the-art, fine machine. Then I thought I'd like to live in a mansion and have all the stuff. But then I go visit someone who's got the mansion and the security and the servants and the groundskeepers, and this whole house is just almost like chaos. And you have a cup of coffee and you drink it and you can't even set your own coffee cup down. Somebody comes and takes it away. And I say, with my temperament and style, this is really not for me. I've got to live a little more simple life. But for someone else, a house full of servants and groundskeepers and security and the whole entourage, that's for them. But if they wanted it and later changed their mind to live a little more serene life, then that's okay too. Did you ever get that mansion on the hill with all those servants that, yeah, I went for that for a while, but the more I went to some places where people lived like that, the more I thought, no, this is really not for me. Having my fishing line in a tranquil stream in Montana, I think now suits my style a little better. I did a seminar in each city in 13 cities a month. I had the elaborate entourage. It was unbelievable. One day I decided, someday I shall have no office, I shall have no secretary, I shall be free. And sure enough, that day finally arrived. People ask me now, what is your email address? And I say, I do not have one. I do have a website that someone else runs, but I have really simplified my life. A company that I do a lot of business with around the world asked me, do you want an office? I said, no. I said, do you want a secretary? I said, no. Then I did say once, yes, I'm going to have the satellite and put a fax machine in my motorhome so that I can be in touch but out of reach. I want somebody to say, yes, you can contact him, but you can't find him for a while. You know, he's not gone forever, but he's gone for a while. So I do seek solitude, chances to get away. My farm in Idaho, overlooking Snake River, is a great place to get away and deal in agriculture and build a few homes. A little change of pace from flying all around the world. It's exciting for me. But for now, right, I have no office and no secretary and no email address, and so I managed to escape most of it. And I think you just have to really make the hard and fast decisions. I did a speech one time, and the title of my speech was, Today I Am a Wealthy Man. Didn't have much to do with money. But here's what I said. I want you to jot these notes down. Here was number one. I said I'm wealthy because of my heritage, my parents, my grandparents. My grandmother studied nutrition, passed it on to my mother. Back in those days when my mother studied and practiced nutrition, she was called like a health nut, right? Do you go back that far, right? Your parents or grandparents? They were called health nuts. They were studying vitamins and they were studying this. Mama used to mix up some of this stuff for me and Papa and said, if this don't kill us, I think it'll help. And we're, gagging this stuff down. My mother, with the practice and study of better nutrition, extended her life at least, the doctor said, at least 20 years. Said if your mother hadn't have done that, she wouldn't have lived that extra 20 years. He said when your mother died, the walls of her heart were paper thin. He said how she lived this last 20 years is incomprehensible. And then I told him, Mama used to do all the juices, had the distiller to distill the water, all the stuff that was considered kind of kooky, right? Back in the 40s and the 50s and 60s. Herbs and twigs, something to smoke. But Mama did all that stuff, extended her life over 20 years. My father lived to be 93, never had a major illness. I've never had one. Passed it on to my children, my grandchildren. Unbelievable. My heritage. What's that worth? It's worth a fortune. So you got to contemplate every once in a while your blessings, and part of your blessing is your heritage. Next is the heritage of your country. We that come from the free country, engaging in enterprise to start with $1 and make a fortune, become a millionaire. What value is that heritage? It's unbelievable. We enjoy the benefit of courts we didn't start. We enjoy the benefit of laws we didn't create. We enjoy the benefit of learning institutions we didn't found. We enjoy the benefit of medicine we didn't discover. Wow. Heritage. Next, I said I'm a wealthy man because of my experiences. Experience makes you rich. Here's what you must treat your experiences as: commodity. You must treat your experiences as high value. You must treat your experiences as capital so that you can invest in the future what you've learned in the past. My experiences now have taken me around the world. A birthday celebration last year, right, in 16 cities. It was one of the most unbelievable experiences of my life. A group got together in Italy and gave me a helicopter tour of Sorrento, Naples, Vesuvius, the Isle of Capri, Pompeii from the air. Wow. Unbelievable experience.
God is not going to let the opposition delay you from your destiny. He has already scheduled your destiny moments. It may feel like you're falling behind. The opposition is holding you back. Stay encouraged. At the right time, that adversity is going to hurry out of your way. Red seas can't keep you from your purpose. God knows how to part those waters. Legal situations, companies that seem bigger, stronger, they can't stop God's plan for your life. It may feel like you're stuck. You don't see anything improving. Don't worry. God knows how to do a quick work. It can happen suddenly.